Hello everyone, I'm Father Jonathan Emery, and this is Socially Sourced, a video series on the social teaching of the Catholic Church. We are planning on making around 10 videos, releasing a new video every week on Wednesdays. This is episode 2, What is Catholic Social Teaching? The simple definition of Catholic social teaching, also known as social doctrine, are the teachings of the Church that intersect with society. As people who follow Christ, we must always ask ourselves how the gospel applies to our lives. The social teaching of the Church is the community's way of asking, how does the gospel apply to the community? The Church has always seen itself as being in the world, but not of the world. As such, it has had to interact with and often shape society throughout its history. So some of our earliest sources of social teaching actually go back to the apostles and the early church. However, for most of the history of humanity, and by extension the Church, society evolved slowly. Technology and ideas were expanding and changing, but at a slow enough rate that the society would generally adapt to them with little effort. It wasn't until the Industrial Revolution and afterwards that the growth of new technology and ideas outpaced the ability of society to keep up. So the popes rarely felt the need to speak up on how theology interacts with society in a systematic way until the effects of the Industrial Revolution started to be seen on the world, partly because the Church was the center of society from the late Roman Empire until well into the Renaissance. It was industrialization that changed everything, as it brought great new abilities to humanity, but also led to whole new ways that humans could abuse one another. Industries arose that dehumanized workers, seeing them as simple parts in the industrial machine. Natural resources were believed to be inexhaustible and were consumed at an increasingly voracious rate. And warfare became far more destructive and deadly. Seeing both the good and evils that had come out of industrialization, Pope Leo XIII wrote an encyclical, a fancy papal term for a letter, to the world in 1891, titled Rerum Novarum, or in English, The Condition of Labor. This encyclical marks the first time that a pope laid out in detail how the theology of the Church interacts with the social issues of his day, and is seen as the beginning of systematized Catholic social teaching. Over the last 130-ish years, major encyclicals and other church documents have been written on social issues, around a dozen times, each time taking into account what was said before, while adjusting it to focus on the most important issues of the time in which they were written. As you can imagine, there is a lot of information in these documents, and some of it is a bit repetitive, which is why these videos will be a very basic overview of the topic. So if you want a more in-depth knowledge, I recommend reading through the Compendium of the Social Doctrine of the Church, which can be found on Amazon, or going through the individual documents, starting with Rerum Novarum. All papal documents are free on the Vatican website. You can read them on the screen or print them out. Just make sure you select the English version. Join us next week for episode 3, The Law of Love. God bless.